Hello, you guys. So within this video, it's going to be about politics. And if you are a person that does not like to hear or speak regarding about politics, this video is not for you. This video is to bring awareness, to bring your attention to, so that you can take the information received and gain your own understanding and perception by doing further research. Some of these are going to be statements, quotes, facts, and majority of the information is going to be based off of my own opinion of what I feel or how I see things based off of my own perception or background or learned behaviors as growing up. So, separation of church and state. We all know what that basically means, to take religion out the government's sectors. So lately, President Biden has been facing pressure from the Democrats, which formed a group called the Secular Democrats of America. And within this group, their agenda was to take on a no religion agenda when it comes to government sectors. Okay. The Democrat group submitted a letter called Restoring Constitutional, Secular, and Patriotic Parallelisms in the White House, which is stating that the government decisions should not be guided by religious views, but by science and evidence. So you probably wonder, where did all this come from? Why are they trying to push the agenda? So according to the article, Secular Democrats, please look that up, seculardemocrats.org, okay? They are stating that when Trump was in office, this is what they're stating, not what I'm stating, he was pushing the one religion agenda for everyone to be Christians, because he said Christians one day will be given power among the states. He also stated that when Trump conducted a speech at that Christian college, if you guys don't remember, I think that's where it was like. And then he went to another church and he was holding the Bible upside down. Don't quote me on that, but I remember the speech, kind of not 100%. But when he gave the speech, within that speech, Trump stated, quote, he could stand in the middle of Fifth Avenue and shoot somebody, unquote, and he wouldn't lose any voters. And what he was saying, because he has so many Christian followers, and within the Christian religion, they base forgiveness, they base no judgment, per my understanding, that's why he was saying that. But if you take that statement and try to tie that into your own understanding of what he meant by that, you might come up with something different. But according to my beliefs, I believe he was trying to make a mockery of Christians and saying that's why he a Christian, because he can do anything. And you guys, not you guys, in a Christian standpoint, will still stand with him. And also he was pushing the agenda that one day the Christian white nationalists will take over the world, but people was classifying that as a threat. But he kept pushing the agenda like, oh, Christians this, Christian that, I'm a Christian this, and I'm a Christian that. So that's why the Democrats were coming up with this agenda saying we have to remove religion practices out of the government policies. Also, back in the days, if you guys remember, President Jefferson in the 1800s stated that Christian religion is the best religion that has ever happened to men. In my beliefs, I felt the Christian beliefs were the things that kept slaves intact, because they believed what they was being told. If you are a Christian, you are a slave, that you have to obey, that you cannot dishonor, you have to forgive, you can't retaliate, because that's against the Christian belief. So that's why a lot of slaves were made to be Christians. If you don't understand, this is just my beliefs, that when people were enslaved, the masters made them go to the rivers and be baptized and classify them as being slaves. However, slaves could not read the Bible, so they was told what was stated in the Bible. And I don't believe they was told word from word. It was twisted a little bit to make them believe that what was happening to them was an act of God. But unfortunately, in my opinion, that is not true. So, in my opinion, that's why I feel the president back in those days said the Christian religion is the best religion that has been given to men. Why? Because it gained them control and power, and which ties in with the Trump agenda. He probably thinks the same way. If I turn it back to an all Christian state, we will gain our power again. And that's why with so many white nationalists was in agreement with him, because back in the day, that's how they gained control over people's minds, manipulated them psychologically. Okay, but moving forward. However, Jefferson also wrote a clause called Wall of Separation, meaning state and church interactions should no longer unite. He so in the First Amendment, the Congress shall make no laws respecting an establishment of religion, but free exercise. Okay, if I said that wrong, please look that up. And also in Article 6 of the U.S. Constitution states no religion test should ever be required as a qualification to any office or public trust. But if we push back and go to what George Washington stated, on the other hand, George Washington stated government and religion should act as support to each other because no one can govern a state without God or the Bible. So after hearing those things, and go do your own research, what do you guys think about that? Should they remove religion from the government sectors? As far as your schools, that's considered government, your postal office, the state, the White House, all of those things are considered government. In my opinion, the pros of separation will allow people to have free will, allow people to make their own religious decisions without being judged on how they feel. Also, the state can make laws without the church going against them if you separate the two. For example, if the state makes a law and says, you know what, we want to allow people to have abortion rights, then that way the church factors can come in and say, no, that's against religious practice. You can't make that law. Anybody who does an abortion should be persecuted or prosecuted, right? Because in the churches, they don't believe in abortions. Also, when it comes to schools, that will give people rights to not be forced into believing into something they don't. However, in my opinion, I believe that's more of a con than a pro, because when it comes to religion and school bases, I feel when they took God out of schools, more tragic things start happening, where say there's a child that comes from a home that does not believe in God. They go to school and there's a teacher that may have a religious background. She wants to pray with that child. She's not allowed to do that if they remove religion out of the government states, okay? So like if you take away the rights to speak about God, kids might not learn their own opinion. Is always going to be based off of a learned behavior from their household. As far as for me, my household was always Christian. I didn't learn more about it until I became almost in my 30s, and I started pushing myself away from the Christian background. That's a whole nother topic, but I found myself more spiritual than religious. I felt the religion backgrounds created too many rules that didn't comply to the Bible. I felt there were some things that I liked from other religious backgrounds that I intertwined into my beliefs of spiritual beliefs. Like for instance, when I looked into Buddhism, their practice of family beliefs, they have a thing called the seven path of life. I believe in that because one of it was like take care of your family. They believe in ethics. They believe in karma. All of that was in the Buddhist religion. And I felt, wow, that's something good to follow for my life path. I wouldn't call it as a religion path, but my life path in general. Okay. So to me, taking that from the schools might do more harm than bad. But once again, that's your own opinion. Also, when the states make laws They may leave out morals and values or ethics if they remove the God basis out of that. For an example, if you really separate the church from lawmaking, they will push the death penalty out of nowhere, like death, 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 because they don't care. Their morals or ethics are removed because they don't have no fear of God, right? So maybe you get an atheist. Atheists, I don't know atheists. I don't know their beliefs or how they think process, but I feel they will believe there'll be no consequences for making death penalty decisions, because a lot of people refrain from doing things because they don't believe fear of man, but they fear God. So they be like, I'm not going to do that because God's going to get me. I'm not going to do that because God's going to put karma against me, right? But if you remove that completely, there'll be no fear. People just doing whatever they want to do, right? And in the healthcare providing our industry, it might take away religious practice, right? So say there's a doctor who's religious and he sees like, oh my God, you're going through so much. Can I pray with you? I had a doctor or nurse do that for me one time. You know, they asked me, of course, and I said, oh my God, yeah. But they might be scared to even ask you because they're like, I don't want to lose my job, because now they pushing the law or the agenda that we have to separate the two. I remember previously in the workplace, they separated it, and it was like people was getting fired because of if they talk about religious backgrounds or bring up the Bible. Now people are more leaning to it's okay. We talk about it, we do, we don't. Where therefore people was getting fired for it. But now I feel companies has eased up where they feel it's okay to talk about it. If you're religious, that's on you. If there's someone next to you that's religious, you guys are welcome to talk about it, as long as you're not pushing it on anybody, and we're not making decisions solely on because you have a religious background. So with that being said, I want you guys to research that. The secular Democrats, look that up. Do you believe that they should separate the two? Or with Trump, you know how it says one person messes up for everybody? With him pushing the agenda of like the one religious basis country, our state, was that a bad decision? Because I do feel we should be able to have free will to believe in what we want to believe. And talking more on the basis of being a Christian, like I said, during my faith walk, also because I became a target, I looked more into religious backgrounds. It seemed like the ones that were Christians were the ones that was judging based on what they heard and not what they know. So a lot of times I do feel decisions should be made on scientific factors and actually factual evidence. Just like us, people are saying slanderous things and people are going off what they heard, because I feel a lot of people that are Christian feel like for some reason they have a right to judge, that you can't mess up, you can't do this. But then again, it's contradicting because they feel like, oh, someone did this, but the Bible says cast no stones. But then they feel like you have to be perfect, right? So it's kind of like, which direction do you want to go? But a lot of people within the Christian community is the ones that treat me wrong the most. They're not open when it comes to finding out the truth. They're more like, ooh, I heard this about you, so I must stay away from you because I have to do the right thing and I have to watch out for you because God put me on earth to make sure you do good, which is not true. And the reason why I'm saying a lot of Christian based, because it's a lot of people in my family that are Christians, but are the main ones not trying to seek facts. The main ones I feel are part of the watch group, maybe because they feel they're doing something right and